everyone, welcome back to Lil Mo Travels. Thank you so much for watching. If you all watched my last video, you probably noticed that it cut off kind of crazy and I had to put an insert saying that I ran out of storage. And so this is just a video to start the new video, basically saying that what's coming up next is what should have been next after that last video. Thank you so much for watching. Please watch some of my other videos. Follow me on Instagram, Lil Mo Travels, and yeah, let's keep the story going. Okay, so I ran out of storage in the middle of recording that video. So here we are, we're back. This is still part 4. I don't care. I had like 20 minutes left on the last video. And so this is the second half to part 4 for my Sierra Leone trip. And like I said, this is the last video, so I'm trying to get to the end of the story. I was talking about how in America, in the United States, there's signs everywhere. The airports will tell you Terminal 4 that way. If you need to go to the bathroom, there's a bathroom this way. And there's signs everywhere. So that's not the only sign. That sign is there, then there's a sign there, then there's a sign there. So you're never lost. And if you can't read the signs, you need help, there's usually someone nearby who can help you. But when I turned around, there was no sign that said this way to security, like this way to the gates. There was no sign. So and it's one room. So it's it's not hard. Everything is in one room. So I'm like, I know I need to leave out somewhere around here. So I just walked forward a little bit and I looked, and there was a way that looked like security, but I wasn't really sure. So I went up and I was like, oh, okay, I'm not sure if I'm supposed to go this way now. And the person was like, you just came from the desk? I was like, yes. They were like, okay, cool. So they're looking at my passport, they're looking at my ticket, and they say, do you have the pass fee? I forgot what it's called. But do you have the fee that you already paid, your $25? I was like, nah. I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. And I said, how would I know if I already paid it? They were like, you would know. So she gave me these directions. She was like, okay, you need to go out the door. Now, I just came in the airport. Now you're telling me I gotta go back outside. So I was like, all right. She said, go out the door, go to arrivals. You just make a right, go down to arrivals. You go in the door. There's a bank there that they are used to people not knowing that they're supposed to pay for this. And so you just go, you tell them you need to pay the fee, and they'll walk you through it. So I did that. And when I came in the door, the lady was super nice. She was helping someone else. And she was like, okay, I need to see your passport. So I gave her my passport. She was like, okay, so it's $25. So I pulled out the Leones that I had, because I don't think I explained this. When I was getting ready to leave, Sia, she took me back to the bank. She said, you need to have some of these just in case something happens and you need to pay for something. And I was like, I knew that she was right, but I kind of didn't want to take out more money on my card just to be having it sit in another currency. I really wasn't feeling that. So I was like, all right, girl. So I took some out. I took about 250 Leones out, which equates to like, I don't even know, like $15, something like that. And so I told her, I was like, I'm gonna keep this, but I don't think I'm gonna need it. She was like, that's okay. I'd rather you have it than to need it and not have it. She's right. So I get there and I start pulling out the Leones. She was like, those are Leones. And it clicked. This whole time they had been saying $25 and they meant dollars. I was like, oh shit. I was like, well, I don't have any cash on me like that. Is it possible that I pay him with my card? And she was like, well, you can pay online. This dude comes out of nowhere. Like I said, it's a hustling ass country. These are one of these people that are hustling, who are like, oh, I can help you. But what they want is for you to then tip them. I didn't recognize if it was that or if he works for the bank and is just helping. But he was so, like, not forceful, but like, yeah, come with me. And I was like, all right, because I need to get the fuck out of here. So as long as you ain't trying to take me to no back room, I'm going to follow you. So he shows me on there's how they have those stand-up posters. There was one with a big-ass QR code. I scanned the QR code, and I was able to fill out the form online and then pay online. He took me to where the security is for the airport. Let's take a second. He took me to where the security is for the airport. Like the security people are back here with computers and they are checking people's information. Like they are looking at the cameras and shit. I was like, did this man really just take me back here? So then, I'm secondhand embarrassed and then the dude in the office was like, we don't do this. And he's telling this dude, like, we don't bring people back here. Like, don't do this again kind of thing. But he set me up on the Wi-Fi so I could fill out the thing. So then I go back to the front. I'm filling out the information. He walks off to go try to help someone else. And I walk. And let me say, when that happened, that's when I knew. I was like, oh, this is one of these dudes that want to get paid. He don't work for the bank. And so I go back and I filled it out. I paid it. I had the QR code. I screenshotted it. Because when you travel, you know enough that like the internet is acting right now, but it'll start acting funny when you need it. So I screenshotted the QR code. It's because the QR code was the pass. The QR code was the proof that I filled it out and then I paid. And so I went and I was like, okay, do I need to go back to her? And he was like, no. He's like, okay. So he walked me back outside. And then he's like, now his voice has dropped. I can't hear what he's saying. And what I think what he was doing was then try to talk me into giving him some money. But he kept saying like, okay, this is where I stop. Okay, this is where I stop. Okay, this is where I stop. I was like, all right, cool. I was like, thank you for your help. And I walked to the door. The same lady that told everybody they needed to have a ticket or whatever, she then takes my passport again. And she's like, oh, she's like, do you live here? I was like, no. Because that was the first, I don't know. This whole time, people have been able to tell that I'm not from here. And then you, who has already, and it's a lot of people, so don't get me wrong, I understand she just saw like billions of people trying to get into this door. But I was like, then you who have already checked my passport is then being like, do you live here? I was like, no. And it was like, again, it was like 3 a.m. at this point. Or not 3, it was like 1 a.m. at this point. And so I'm like, no. And she was like, I was getting ready to tell her, like, I have a flight. I had to leave to go pay. And then she was like, oh, okay. She was like, you're supposed to have your ticket. I was like, I do. And so she let me in. So I just went in. I'm glad I didn't have to get in it with her. She was already getting into it with other people and stuff. I went back to the security line. The same people then checked my passport, checked the QR code. So now I'm at the border, customs or whatever. I had never done this to get into the airport. So again, this is like, I've never experienced this before. We're on a whole nother level right now. I was like, I gotta do this to get in. I was like, I gotta do this to get out, but whatever. So I go and the woman is like, you're leaving? I was like, yes. She was like, okay, I need your passport. I need this, I need that. So I started handing her stuff. She asked for the QR code. I gave it to her. Then she starts asking me questions. I couldn't understand what she was saying. This is the thing. The entire time, people would be speaking English, but I wouldn't be able to understand them. 2 reasons for this. Number 1, they're speaking British English. When I first got there, I was reading the signs on the walls. I'm talking about in the airport. When I first arrived in Sierra Leone, on the walls and stuff, there were signs. In the ferry station, there were signs, and they were all in British English. And I was like, okay, I understand what you're saying, but I would not have said it like that. And so when someone has an accent, and then they're speaking the language that you speak, but they're using words that you don't commonly use, it's like, what? What are you trying to say? So she was saying stuff to me. I don't remember what the fuck she said. I don't recall what she was asking me, but eventually it got through, and then I was able to do what she told me to do. Oh, she had said, okay, you can put your fingers on the scanner. I didn't understand what she said, because she didn't use the word scanner. She used something else. And so the dude who was standing next to me, he was like, he worked for the airport. I think he was just there to help. And so he was like, your hand. And so I lifted my hand up. He was like, right there. And I put it, like, I lifted my fingers. They're kind of light. And he was like, you can press down. So I literally pressed down on those 3 fingers. He was like, no. And he laid my hand down. So that just gives you an example of, like, even though they were saying stuff in English, I could not understand what they were saying because their accents and they were speaking British English. So it was hard for them to understand. But also, when you're tired, nothing makes sense. I was just like, okay, I just followed directions. Then I get to security dude. And this dude pissed me off because I don't know what he thought I was doing, but I think this is just one of those things that you just grow up doing and that's just who you are. One of the things that bothers me is when I'm already doing something that somebody starts to tell me to do. So, and I'm not talking about like, if you're going to the car and somebody's like, all right, time to get in the car. Not like that. I'm talking about something. You have told me to do this. And now I'm in the middle of doing it and you're trying to repeat more instructions to me. Bro, it was like 1 a.m. and all of that had happened. It was all chaos. I also don't like to be around a lot of people. That gives me anxiety. So like I don't like, for example, I don't like doing free concerts because everybody's just standing next to each other and there's hella people and it's like you just feel encased. My anxiety was a little riled up because of what happened with the luggage and what happened with trying to get into the airport to begin with. And then here you go. I have one of those base carry-on luggages that has a lot of space and stuff like that. And so I was like, all right, cool. I'm going to take this. So what happened was when I had to get my purse out of the carry-on luggage, no, not my purse. I had already had my purse out. It was my iPad. I had to pull my iPad out and I had to pull this water out that I had brought from Sia's house. And so I pulled it out, and the zipper had gotten stuck on one of the flaps. So he was like, close your bag. I was like, all right, cool. So I'm trying to unhook it. I don't think he saw that it was messed up. And so as I'm trying to do that, he taps me on the hand and it's like, excuse me, ma'am, please zip up your bag. And I said, I am. I was like, it's stuck. I'm trying to get it unstuck. And you could tell that, I don't know. I think he realized who he was fucking with at that point in time because then he backed up a little bit. But I was like, hey, bro, I don't give a fuck if you security or you not. If you was paying attention, you'd have seen what the fuck was going on. Anyway, it was a lot happening. So my spirit came about my body then. But I figured it out, fixed it, and we went through security, whatever. And then I walked into the room where we all sat and waited for the terminal, pretty much. There's one terminal, so this is a really small airport. There is no terminal A, B, C, D, or whatever. There is no multiple securities. It's not like LAX where you got 3 or 4 or 5 different buildings where you can fly out of with different gates and stuff like that. There were 3 doors for 3 gates, one terminal, and everybody who was leaving out of there, no matter where they was going, was all sitting in the same seating area. Nothing was open because it was 1 o'clock in the morning. And so it's not like I could spend the Leones that I had, because that's what I was thinking. I was like, okay, let me see if there's a gift shop or something I can go in here and buy a few things so that I can get rid of some of these Leones. But I think I'm going to end up just using the currency. I think I'm going to end up like keeping maybe a 20, and maybe I think I have a 20 and a 5 in there. I think I'm going to end up keeping those and then going to a currency spot, checking to see the rate and see when the rate will be good for me, and then do that. For me to like get money back, the best rate for me to get my money back in dollars. It's never gonna be as the best, but how like even if the rate was close to what it was when I took the money out, I would be happy with that too. So anyway, I'm sitting in the terminal and I'm exhausted, right? I'm tired. So let me break down what my flight was home. The original flight was from Freetown, Sierra Leone, to, I can't pronounce the city name and I'm not about to butcher it, the capital of Burkina Faso. There was just a stopover. So we weren't getting off the plane. We literally were just lifting off, landing in the next country over to maybe pick up some people, I don't know, and then we're taking off again. That was the stopover in Burkina Faso. Then we picked up and we're supposed to land in Turkey, in Istanbul, in Turkey. And then I was supposed to get a flight from Turkey, from Istanbul to JFK, New York, and then from JFK, New York to San Diego. That's not how it went. So I got on the flight or whatever, took off. We landed in Burkina Faso, took off from Burkina Faso. We were landing in Istanbul at the exact same time that my next flight started boarding. So when we started talking about the checkpoints and having to pick this up, pick that up, go all the way over here, whatever, answer all these people, if my flight is landing as my next flight is getting ready to take off, I'm not going to make that flight. Even in an airport like the one in Sierra Leone. So what happened was, when we were landing, I started to feel us dissenting, right? And they'll tell you what has happened, but they usually don't tell you until after it happens. So they'll tell you, like, okay, what happened was this. So what happened was, we were going down. I could feel him trying to land. And then I feel him speed up again. I was like, this nigga taking off again? What the fuck? So it was like he was doing this and then did this. I was like, what is going on? Cause you know, when stuff doesn't feel like it's supposed to, you're like, you know, on planes, and you know, planes be falling out the sky nowadays. So you feel nervous. I was like, okay, what's happening? So then they told us, okay, the visibility was low. And so we couldn't land the plane. We're going to try to land it again on another tarmac. I was like, all right, cool. So I don't, mind you, I've been in like 3 different time zones at this point. I I don't know what time it is, and I don't know if my plane is going to land on time or what. But I could have sworn up and down in 12 circles that my layover on my original ticket, and I know if I look it up right now, it will say on the original itinerary before I left California, it said that I had 4 hours in Istanbul. I promise that's what it said. So when we were doing all that extra landing, that took up some time because, you know, you got to go back up and you got to circle around, try again. That took about 15-20 minutes. So by the time we land, taxi to the gate, get on the jet bridge, walk into the airport. Okay, so now we're at the checkpoint. Passport, ticket, or whatever. He's looking at me dead in my face. And there was one time when this happened, and the man looked at me, looked at the ticket, looked at me, looked at the ticket, looked at me, looked at the ticket. And I was like, are we doing this right now? Bro, that's me. Like, don't do this. But so the man looked at my passport, looked at the ticket, and then I kept on going. Right as I walked out of the checkpoint, I overheard somebody saying, flight to London, flight to London, flight to London. And I was like, well, I'm not going to, he said flight to Heathrow. I was like, well, I'm not going to Heathrow, so he ain't talking to me. And so I kept on walking. I get to the nearest screen, and I look at my ticket. It says 14:20. That's when I was supposed to board. I look at the time. It says 15:05 or something like that, 15:10. I was like, I feel like I'm reading this right, because I know military time, I know worldly time. I know the numbers, so I know to count forward and all this other shit. So I knew that it was the shit said 2:20, and I know that it said 3:05 or 3:10. But I was like, that doesn't make sense, because again, on my original itinerary, it said that I had 4 hours in Istanbul. So I was confused. But this is when I started to have a little haste in my walk, because I got out, and as I was walking, I had never been to Istanbul, never wanted to be to Istanbul. I had seen it on Instagram before. I was like, oh, it's a really pretty place, but I had never had it on my travel list. So I had never done any research about Istanbul, ever. So I'm looking, and I'm walking around, I said, this is a big-ass airport. And I didn't realize how big it was. Even then, I was like, this is a big airport. So I need to have a little bit more haste, because it says I need to be in another terminal, and I don't know how far that is. So I'm walking, and it seems like every sign I saw said it was only going down by 1 minute. Like, it will give you the time to which you had to reach to whatever point you're trying to be at. So it's like Terminal 1, 20-minute walk, baggage claim, 15-minute walk, or whatever. It was doing that. And so it kept saying, like, international transfers. At the beginning, it said 15-minute walk. Then it said 10-minute walk. Then it said 7-minute walk. And it was like 3 to 5-minute walk. I was like, how far am I walking? How big is this airport? This is ridiculous. And so I'm walking. And mind you, at this point, I should have recognized I don't need to rush anymore, because if the boarding time started at 2:20, they're wrapping up. By the time I saw that it was 3:05 and they're getting ready to pull out, they're supposed to take off at 3:20. Oh, bro. The gate is closed at this point. I'm walking. And then I saw another sign that said, get to gate. So I'm trying to get to the gate, right? Walking. I feel like I'm working out. Now I hit another sign that said gate closed. It was only 3:15 at this point. So I was like, they closed the gate early. All right. And now I then realized, I was like, oh, the reason why that happened is because they probably saw that there were a few of us that were on the flight that landed late, and we weren't going to make it. Nobody had made it to the gate. There was like 5 or 10 of us that was on the flight from Sierra Leone to Istanbul, and none of us made it. So they probably closed the gate early, because they was like, there's no point. Anyway, we did not land in the international area. We landed where domestic flights take off. And so this is where the checkpoints and how I had to keep handing out my passport and stuff like that, why this didn't make sense to me and how it started to make sense. Because if we kept landing in areas where there weren't any international flights, you have to make sure that these people who are getting off this plane, either they live domestically or they are catching another flight. So we need to check their passports and see, do they have the visas they need, blah, 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 right? And so now it started to make sense. So then I had to go through to get to the international terminal. So I had to have my ticket out and all this other stuff. So I get through all of that, which was a whole line. I finally get into the international terminal. And when I tell you, this was the most beautiful place I had ever seen. Like, this was the most beautiful airport I had ever been to. And I had never wanted to see Istanbul until I saw the airport. I was like, I wonder what else they got here. Like, I'm looking around like, I can't believe this. I never knew this existed. As much traveling as I had done, I was like, yo, the world is a grand place, okay? Because I would have never thought none of this was here. I'm talking about, like, I have been to, what other airport? There was another airport that caught my attention like this. But this was beyond me. Like, this was a whole nother level. I'm talking about luxury stores like Dior, stores I'd never heard of before in my life that I don't know how to pronounce. They had Cartier, food places from all over the world. So, like how in the United States, you might have like at the food court or whatever in the airport, you might have some American places and some places where they serve food from other places. But here it was like, nah, these are places that are in those locations that are also here in this airport. So there was a couple of restaurants that I know from London, for example. They had a Subway in there, Arby's, a Popeyes, everything. First off, Popeyes is getting their money. Let's just talk about it because, you know, they opened up some stores in London a couple months ago. And then I saw one when I was in Spain. When my host parents were dropping me off at the airport, we had stopped and got lunch. And on the way back on the freeway, we passed the Popeyes. I said Popeyes, and so I had to explain to them Popeyes and what it means to me. And then I saw one at Istanbul airport, so Popeyes getting their money. So they had all kinds of different foods from different ethnicities and cultures. They had like 18 billion duty frees. I'm like, I just couldn't believe it. But then I realized, okay, I need to get to my gates because I don't know what I'm doing. I know that I've missed my flight. I just don't know what to do next. So I make it all the way to the gate, right? And I walk in, and there's all the people that kind of help with the security with the flight. And they're all like, stop. So they tell me stop, but they don't speak English. And so the person from the gate came, and because he could tell that I was trying to talk to them, but they was like, and like looking at me like, I'm looking at them like, because none of us speak the same language. And so the guy from the gate, the desk agent came, gate agent, he came and he was like, hi. He was like, you were on the flight? I was like, yes. He was like, to New York, yes? I was like, yes. He was like, okay. Unfortunately, you have missed your flight. And I'm looking at the plane and I'm looking at him and at the empty gate and I'm like, yes. But at this point, you got to remember, I was tired, frustrated because all this happened and had no control over it. And I just want to go home at this point, right? And so he's like, so what you'll need to do, and he gives me all these directions. So pretty much what I needed to find was the help desk. But it was over in another terminal. So I was in an international terminal. I needed to walk all the way to Terminal A, which is where I just was. When I got off my plane, I was closest to Terminal A. And so I had to walk all the way back over there. I'm telling you, I swear I walked like at least 2 miles. I swear, this is a big airport. And eventually I'm going to look up the stats for this airport, but it was a really big airport. I get all the way over there, and I'm standing in line, I'm talking, just trying to tell people where I am because I hadn't had service. And even at Sia's house, the Wi-Fi wasn't super strong. So I couldn't really have phone calls with people. I could only send voice notes and text messages and stuff to let them know where I was. And so I was telling my family, I made it here, you know, I'm here, blah, blah, blah. I'm doing all that. I get to the front, and this dude is like, all right, so you have 2 options. There's a flight at 6 that you could take. You would get to New York, but then you would be there for 8 hours. Then he goes, you have that option, but you also have the option where you could stay here in Istanbul tonight and take out the next flight. The same flight that you were supposed to take today, you could take tomorrow. And I asked questions. I was like, all right, so hold on a second. Because, you know, I'm not in a hurry to get out of Istanbul. I've never been there before, but I've never heard anything bad about it. Now, that may be just ignorance, but I've never heard anything bad about Istanbul. So I'm not in a hurry to get out. I don't think they're in the middle of a war or anything. I was just kind of like, all right, well, if I get to JFK, are y'all going to provide accommodations there? He was like, I don't know. That's a question to ask them when they get there. Because Turkish Airlines fulfilled their obligation by the time they get me to New York. My flight from New York to San Diego was on JetBlue. And so I would have had to talk to JetBlue about that. I was like, what I'm not doing is spending 8 hours in JFK. Fuck that. And so I was like, well, what about Istanbul? How much money would I have to come out of pocket? He was like, you have to pay for the visa. Everything else will be provided for you. I said, we have a winner. So I didn't mind paying for the visa because I knew if I got to New York, I was going to have to pay for a hotel which was going to be more than the $30 I spent on a visa in Istanbul, as well as accommodations, learning how to get there, because I've flown into JFK before, but I've never left from JFK, like, you know, left JFK into the city. I've never done that. I was like, nah, I think I'll stay here. He's like, all right, cool. You're going to take this information and you're going to go and get your visa. I'm going to explain that whole process on another video, because I want to talk about how Turkish Airlines is the best airline I've flown on. I love Delta, but even Delta be fucking up. And this whole experience with Turkish Airlines went so smooth. I was just like, this is crazy that y'all fucked up and y'all took accountability for your actions. The fact that doesn't happen often is crazy. But anyway, so I made it to the visa place. Initially, the dude at desk told me it's going to cost $50. So I was going to take the L, but whatever. And then I got there, and the visa office was like, no, it's only $30. So I paid $30. I got my stamp. I was able to leave the airport. I went to go check on my bag. It was already attached to my flight, and so I couldn't actually get my bag. But, traveler tip, you should always pack a set of clothes in your carry-on in case your luggage is lost. But how this paid out for me was I had packed clothes to change into on the flight to New York so I could be more comfortable, because I planned to sleep on that flight. And I had a set of underwear, I had socks, I had my toothbrush, I didn't have deodorant, but I had all the things that I needed for the most part to like have a comfortable night stay. And so I was able to do that. So I didn't really need my bag. I just wanted my bag because there was some stuff in there that would have been nice to have, like deodorant. So I went. I had to go find the hotel desk. Found the hotel desk. Got a trip to the hotel. Stayed a night. And I'll talk about that in my Turkish Airlines video. That was really nice. They fed me dinner and breakfast. Got a trip back to the airport in the morning. Got on my flight to JFK. Got to JFK. The flight to JFK was cool. The dude next to me was really nice. Every time we had food, he would like, you know, tap me. Like, you want some food? Or like, yeah, he would pass it over to me. Every time they came by with trash, he would like grab my trash and put it over there. It was like he was watching out for me, which look, shout out to God. Send people to look over me when I'm by myself, especially on flights like this where you're sitting next to people from all over the world. You don't really know nobody like that. You don't really speak the same language. Y'all don't come from the same culture. You never know, because it be stories about people getting assaulted on planes, and like, especially with women coming from other countries that like, we're really liberated over here in the United States, but in some countries they're not, and they be trying you. So you never know who you sitting next to. So I always be on alert, but he was just really a nice dude. I didn't really sleep on that flight. I watched a bunch of movies, and then I got to JFK, and this is where more chaos ensued. The layover was 2 hours, but when we landed, that 2 hours had already started, so we must have landed late, or at least taxied to the gate really slow. So we got there, and I already knew, because when I came back from Spain, we didn't know, because I flew with my friend Jasmine, we didn't know that we had to go get our bags and transfer them to the domestic bag carrier. We missed our flight, pretty much. We were able to catch another flight. We were in Texas, so it was easy to get to California on another flight. But this flight, I knew that not only had I missed it yesterday, I knew that I was not about to miss it today. So I hauled ass to customs. They split us into the lines. U.S. passport, all other passports. The U.S. passport, they only had two gates open, 2 lanes open. So we all looking like, why they got all of us getting off of these flights and it's only 2 lanes open? Y'all are tripping. Like, what is up, JFK? Get it together. Eventually, they opened up the gates and stuff like that. I got to the front eventually. At this point, I've already called my family, let them know I made it to JFK. Like, hey, I'm back in the States, whatever. I get to the front, and he's looking at my passport. And this is a black man. So I was like, I already knew. I was like, all right, I'm cool. Not that if I did something, I wouldn't be able to get back into the United States. But that when you're walking up on some other person in some other country, you don't really know how they're about to approach you. But he was like, how you doing? I was like, I'm good. How are you? He was like, I'm good. He was like, how was your flight? I was like, it was good. Thank you. He was like, okay, I need your passport, blah, blah, blah. So I give him all that. Then he's like, you got anything you want to declare? I was like, no. He was like, do you have any food? Something else. And I was like, say it again. Because mind you, when I left Istanbul, it was 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Then when I get to JFK, it had started to become nighttime. It was like 6 or 7 or something like that. I just got off of a 12-hour flight. I didn't know what this man was saying. So I was like, what'd you say? Can you say that again? He repeated himself. I said, I do have food on me. He was like, what kind of food? He was like, meats, liquids. I was like snacks. And he was like, what kind of snacks? I was like chips. I was like, peanut butter crackers. You know what I'm saying? I was like, I don't get what you asking me. But I did understand why he was asking me, because you can't bring certain things back and forth into different countries. So when I came back from Spain the second time, I had brought back meat. They took it from me. They was like, you can't bring that in here, which makes sense. Now, I'm not going to go into it on this video, but if you need to learn more about what you can and can't bring into the United States, please look that up so that you can understand what I'm saying. He was like, all right, cool. Well, have a good flight. Thank you. Have a good day. So, all right, cool. So I give my passport back. And now I have to go get my luggage, take my luggage. So my luggage comes out after waiting a little bit. It came out. I grabbed that shit and I'm hauling ass. I'm not running, but I'm like, you know, I got haste on me. Because like I said, I only had 2-hour layover. And you got to think, when you're domestic, your terminal's probably not that far. The gate's probably not that far. You might even land in the same terminal right next to the gate that you're leaving in. Sometimes it happens like that. But when you're leaving from an international terminal to a domestic terminal, you got to go through the border first. That takes some time because you got to wait in the line. Then they got to ask you all these stupid ass questions, and then you got to get your bag. Don't then pack a bag, because then you got to wait for your bag to come out of the baggage claim. You got to go get it, take it to the next baggage claim. You got to go to another baggage claim or a desk or however they do it at their airport, and you got to give them your luggage. Then you got to go catch your flight. So I'm doing all this. I only got 2 hours to do it. So I got to the point where I grabbed my bag, and now I got some haste on me. I get through. Do you want to declare anything? No. So I keep going, and now I'm at the next baggage claim. So I go to the desk. She's like, how you doing? I was like, girl, I'm tired. She was like, I understand. I was like, I know that she said, I know you just came off of a long flight. I was like, yep, I just came from Istanbul. She was like, okay. She was like, yeah. So she was like, can you put your bag up here on the thing? I said, yeah, I can. So I took a second because I knew it was heavy. So I picked it up and I put it on the thing. She was like, I know that was heavy. I said, yes, and I'm very tired. And she was like, okay, where are you going next? I said, San Diego. She was like, all right, cool. Looks like JetBlue is going to give you another ticket when you get there. She was like, so you're all set. What you need to do is go outside, go across the street. And then she stopped and she looked at me. She was like, you don't have a coat on. She was like, never mind, don't go outside. I was like, thanks, because one person would have just been like, you just got to go outside and catch the tram or whatever. So she was like, go to the elevator. The elevator's by the door. Go to the elevator, go up, go across on the walkway. Go back down. That'll take you to the tram. That'll take you to the gate number or the terminal that you need to be at. I was like, all right, cool. So I did all that. On the elevator, I met this dude. He was like, he looked familiar. So I was like, oh, where are you going? And he was like, oh, I'm going to Rochester. I said, New York? He was like, yeah. I was like, all right, cool. I was like, I'm going to San Diego. And I was like, I just got off of the Istanbul flight, so I'm really not trying to miss this flight. He was like, oh, I did too. And I was like, so we both trying to make it to where we need to go tonight, because neither of us was trying to stay at JFK. So I said peace up to him, made our way to the little tram thing, got all the way to the right terminal, and now I had to figure out where my gate was. Because, like I just got done saying, you go to baggage claim, so now you have all the things that you need. You have to go through security again. That's the worst part about coming out of an international flight, is having to come through the international terminal just to go back into another terminal. Pain in my ass. I get there. I'm trying to get my boarding pass for JetBlue. For some reason, it's not working. I put in all of the information correctly, did it twice for each thing, and it didn't work. So I had to go stand in the line. Now, mind you, I don't know what time it is, and I don't know what time my flight is taking off, because I just got off of a 12-hour flight. I don't have time for this shit. All I need to do is just try to make it there. So I get into the line, the help desk line or whatever. So then I start trying to read my information. Like, okay, well, my flight leaves at this time. That means right now it's this time, so I got about this much minutes. So I figured it out, and I still had time. So I was cool. I calmed down a little bit. So got to the front, and I'm telling the lady the information. And then she was like, do you have more information about your flight? So I handed her my original boarding pass. She was like, I don't understand what's going on, because I can't find you. She does a little typing, does something else, She's like, okay. She's like, I think I found your reservation. So I don't know why it didn't work. And I had to explain to her, I was supposed to be on yesterday's flight, but they had to rebook me on today's flight. And now at the desk in JFK, they said that JetBlue was going to give me another ticket. She was like, oh, okay. I don't know what happened with that, but she was like, anyway, I'm going to print you a new ticket, and then you'll be good. I said, also, can you put my pre-check on there? I was like, I don't know if it's going to show, and it didn't. And so she put my pre-check on there, because I already knew I didn't have time to wait in nobody's security line. And if I pay for pre-check, I'm using it all the time. I'm getting my full worth of pre-check. So I came out of there. I went through the pre-check line, was done in like 5 minutes, and then I looked at the board, and it said, you need to get to gate whatever. So I'm looking for water at this point, because I had to throw away my water that I had on Turkish Airlines because I went through security again. See how this could be really fucking annoying? Because when you try to set yourself up for success, but if you have to keep giving your boarding pass to people, keep giving your passport to people, keep buying water over and over again, it's like, this is too much. I had to go find water. I hadn't eaten because the second meal, oh, that was another thing I'll talk about on Turkish Airlines. My GERD. Every meal that they served me was going to mess up my stomach or my GERD. 'Cause I'm lactose intolerant and I can't eat anything spicy or tomatoes or things like that. So I didn't really eat that much on the flight. And, JetBlue don't feed you. So I was looking for something to eat. But by the time I realized what time it was, I was like, I gotta go. So I went to my gate, and sure enough, it said gate closing. I said, hell no. I ran up there. I was on the phone with my aunt. I was like, okay, I love you. I gotta go though, because I gotta get on this flight. I can't stay here. So I got off the phone with her, got on the flight and everything. And on my flight to JetBlue, I didn't really sleep at all. I just watched TV. I ordered some actual food so I could put something on my stomach, and then landed in San Diego at 12:30 a.m. And I was up ever since then. So you can hear about well, not ever since then. I've had some sleep since then. But right now, it is 2:34 in the morning. And I'm wide awake because of jet lag. So, shameless plug, go look at my video about jet lag coming off of this trip and going from terminal to terminal, going from time zone to time zone, country to country, not knowing what time it is and not knowing what time it is back home, and just being up and down and all this other stuff, and how jet lag can affect you long term. Thank you so much for listening. This has been my 4-part video series on my trip to Sierra Leone. I definitely did not talk about everything. So if you have something that you're wondering about that you would like for me to talk about, please comment, let me know, and I'll do a video about it. Follow me on Instagram, Lil Mo Travels. That's LILMO Travels on Instagram. Thank you so much. I hope you like these videos. Let me know if you want me to talk about something else. If you haven't watched any of my other videos, please check those out. And thank you for watching. Went through the pre-check line, was done in like 5 minutes. Then I looked at the board and it said you need to get to gate whatever. So I'm looking for water because I had to throw away my water that I had on Turkish Airlines because I went through security again. See how this could be really fucking annoying? Because when you try to set yourself up for success, but if you have to keep giving your boarding pass to people, keep giving your passport to people, keep buying water over and over again, it's like, this is too much. I had to go find water. I hadn't eaten. Every meal that they served me was going to mess up my stomach or my GERD. I'm lactose intolerant and I can't eat anything spicy or tomatoes or things like that. I didn't really eat that much on the flight. You know, JetBlue don't feed you. So I was looking for something to eat. But by the time I realized what time it was, I was like, I gotta go. So I went to my gate, and sure enough, it said gate closing. I said, hell no. I ran up there. I was on the phone with my aunt. I was like, okay, I love you. I gotta go though. Got off the phone with her. Got on the flight and everything. On my flight to JetBlue, I didn't really sleep at all. I just watched TV, ordered some actual food so I could put something on my stomach, and then landed in San Diego at 12:30 a.m.